there, and welcome to another episode of Lore Ramblings. The name's Adam.
And I'm ImpCit, and today we'll be starting our discussion on Degenesis.
This is going to be a multi-part work because the book is over 730 pages long. It is so long that the creators actually cut it in half specifically so that you could actually get to the play content, which you'd think would be a good thing. But I'm actually let me be blunt, I'm coming at this from the point of view that I am not a fan of Degenesis's design spirit. Everything that you could do wrong in an RPG book, I think Degenesis, well, it doesn't do everything wrong. It didn't use Powered by the Apocalypse. Then it would have done everything wrong. But I'm not a fan of its design. I think it is way too long. It reminds me way too much of Mage 20th Anniversary Edition. I am coming at this from this point of view, just as a heads up.
And I'm coming at from the perspective of a fan. I enjoy it. I think the setting gripped me, that I can't ignore any sort of concerns about layout. Uh,
For an
and hopefully
RPG, I think
I
that's
can
fatal
convince
since
Adam.
I'm coming at this brand new. And I'm not sure, but this is something that I intrinsically think is a problem. So with that, let's go through. The first book of Rebel Moon, Degenesis. This is not Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon. Degenesis, Primal Punk. And here's the scale and scope of the map. Heavily based on Ice Age Europe. With a little bit of extra additions thrown in.
You could also notice the names have changed. For instance, what would be Germany is called Borka. What would be Poland is called Poland.
No,
We
pollen,
have the
because of the spore wall.
we have Balkan, Franca, Hybrispania, Pugare, and just Africa.
I will say I've noticed something that I think is really silly. Despite all of that, you have Al-Andalus still being a thing. I don't know, there's just
Uh,
something about that that I think is a bit strange, a bit wrong. That's just me though, like from a concept point of view. I understand plundering from history memes. I just don't know why if they're gonna change things like France to Franca, I don't know why they would use Andalus. At least in the way that they describe it. By the way, Africa, I can already tell is kind of fuck it, we'll get to it later. Because besides of a few cities based on the trade routes through the Sahara, it's all here there be psychovores. I don't know what a psychovore is, but it's probably pretty bad. And now, okay, there's a quote. Okay, when do we get to the book? When do we get to the book? Well, here's everyone behind the book. That's good to know. Uh, okay, let's get to the book. Okay, the table of contents. All right. I think some of these could have been removed. Here's some art assets that we couldn't quite fit in personally. Come on, when do we get to the book? Oh, here we go. Oh, it's almost unfucking readable because of the way this is written. Ugh.
Though pay attention to the nice smiling man. Well, I'd hesitate to call him a man. I don't think he's considered human anymore.
Oh, you mean the guy that I kind of quickly skipped through because of all the? I mean, the art assets do look good. I'm not going to downgrade on that. Let's be fair. These are good art assets. It's just I am already on page 13 and we still haven't even gotten to the beginnings of the book.
We did have the Jackal's prophecy.
Oh
I
no,
think
no,
we're
I'm still going through it because look at how many pages I got to scroll through. Here's more art assets. Here's a three-eyed lady, which I think means they're from the Spain equivalent where they're fighting the Africans.
yep.
And we
And
finally made it to, oh no, that's a story beat.
yeah.
We're on page 22 of 368. Just to let you know, we're 10% of the way through the book already. We're going through this at a really good clip. Again, you can kind of see why I have issues with its design.
But what I guess we can finally get to it on page 24.
Oh, no, no, no.
What
I want to compare this to, so a lot of RPG books by this point would start to get into explaining how the system would work. Admittedly, in lore heavy books like Vampire or Mage or so on, it might take longer. You might be in the page 50s. The last time I looked at a book that did this was Iron Kingdoms, which I also had issues with because it was lore fronted. Um, I already have issues, just from a design principle. Now we can start.
what is Degenesis? Eschaton. That's what they call the end of the world. The day when fire rained from the heavens, burning the land, scorching the people. The planet trembled, heaving in pain like a feverish person in agony. And though earth endured, it was forever changed.
Okay.
So, apocalypse happens.
Yeah, if you,
Asteroids hit.
yeah, basically,
Yeah.
I read this. Asteroids occurred and
And
some
now it
weird
is
shit.
522 years since then. And pretty much all the old cultures. Actually, no, all the old cultures have gone away. Um,
Which, to be fair, in the aftermath of essentially a fucking dinosaur impact meteor fucking everything up, or at least a swarm of smaller ones that don't quite kill off everything, that's not unreasonable. That's not an unreasonable take. The activation of magic, though, that's a little more iffy. But
yeah,
I'm going
because
to let it go because it's a post-apocalyptic setting that
yeah,
has kitchen sink shit.
because there was something on the asteroids that hit,
Oh, that's the
and
alien thing that Not Nito hinted at?
yeah, it's it changed people, and and it's different even based on location.
Oh, so they're ripping off the plot of Genova from Final Fantasy VII. Got it.
Having not played that game, I don't know what you're talking about.
Genova was an alien life form that came down from a meteor impact that basically wiped out the humanity before humanity, known as the Ketra.
Maybe,
I'm being an asshole. Don't worry.
yeah.
I'm just having fun with this.
But so now we have 7 primary cultures, 13 different cults, and a bunch of clans that
Personally, I think
dominate
there
the
should
world.
be even more cults than that, but that's just me. Seven broad cultural aspects. That sounds about right. Because if you're using the term culture like in the anthropological term, like the predecessors of the Celtic culture, the Hallstatt culture, that basically dominated a good part of Europe, and there were other similar culture builds. So I don't have an
Yeah,
issue with that.
they're kind of going on that angle because it really is much more of a geographical constraint than either like an ideological or
That's
national.
not quite how cultures work, but okay. Because to give you an idea, examples of Hallstatt culture can be found as far east as like parts of Poland, I think, and as far west as France and like that's northernmost tip of Italy. It's not really geographical. It's basically how far did the people that make the same pottery and kind of had the same cultural themes of like god totems and shit. How far did they spread? You know.
Yeah,
Like I said, my cults, you probably should be able to add more. Then again, I'm pretty sure that the book has the ability to show you how to make more cults, so I'm not going to have any issues with that. This is just me pointing out that this entire book, all 368 pages of it, are lore driven. I, I, I'm being a little harsher because of that, because of the amount of effort they put into this. Because this is the big focus of it, you know?
I think it explains why they're starting a lot of these sections off with more narrative segments.
By the way, this is another example of poor book usage. Look at the white space usage. Over two-thirds of it is dedicated to
A
essentially what you'd
TSLE
see
quote.
on a fucking Etsy store. This is an Etsy store quote that you would get for like $5 from like a woodcutter. And then just crunched at the bottom. Oh yeah, huh? Words. Hmm. Hmm. By the way, hey there, Jimmy. Does this guy have
It
like a fucking dent in his head? Might be the
may
lighting, but does he have a dent in his head?
he could. Who knows? It's post-apocalypse.
Did he have a soft spot and he survived the yeeting as his culture would do? Baby have soft head. Throw against rock. If survive, you become great leader. And ever since then, Throngor has been one of the strongest motherfuckers in the tribe. He just doesn't even know how to spell his own name. Although, in fairness, none of the tribe know how to read, so it's fine. Here
And
is another vacuous use of a two-page spread, which I don't really think adds much. I mean, I guess it does in the sense that it shows the destruction level of what the meteors did.
but also the civilization, because you can tell that there are these camps being built up.
You say that, but it just kind of blends in with the gray.
Yeah.
This spread, I think, is a poor usage of space. Oh God, yeah, Jimmy. The usage of pages is awful. Then they have a little short story here.
And then back to the actual setting.
Oh, this was
So,
actually the story. So I actually did a skim through of this. I skipped this entire section because it's also white on black when the previous section was black on white. So this is actually the section.
yeah. So,
Just pointing that
uh,
out because that is a design failure right there.
so yeah, this is a story, I guess, of during the actual apocalypse. But
It's describing basically the process of the world ending.
yeah, the Eschaton, though, that occurs in 2073. So hey, we're almost near there.
Yeah.
So Europe gets hit first by the bombardment, first in Scandinavia, then along the Alps and into Italy and the African coastline. This causes, well, a lot of things to be thrown up into the sky: cities, people, magma, ash,
Okay,
and the result.
Okay, so here's my rebuttal to this now that I know the scale of destruction. This is similar to the Uxmaliev crater that was formed by the dinosaur-ending meteor, right?
Smaller ones, I think.
Okay, so here's my rebuttal to this. Every person on here should probably be black or like Mongolian because everyone in Europe and North Africa would be dead.
I think they were just genuinely smaller, at least
No,
those
because
ones.
of giant clumps the size of cities shot skyward. We are talking about something strong enough to rip open multi-mile meteoroids from the ground and throw it into space as earthborn rock. That's an impact level that would straight up kill everyone in Europe.
Well, they do then follow up what happened later. So Brazil, they're able to radio tsunami warnings, but just cuts to static right after. Moscow's bathed in fire. North America drowns in ash and rain. India cracked. Sydney vanished.
Right, the entire world got no, everyone would be dead then. No, like just from a like a fundamental point of view, the amount of impacts would basically melt everyone. Because
Well,
if
who's
it's a worldwide, because what I'm envisioning is you are having meteor impacts that are large enough to rip essentially city-sized meteors from Earth into the sky to then blow back and hit other parts of the world, right?
yeah. Well, then here's the question: if that's the case, then why is everyone surviving?
So it could be the aliens, but I think it's the hand waving of the plot, as as Not Nito has mentioned. Like
Could it
I'm
have
only
been a
pointing this out
cause?
because there's a difference between having a meteor like hitting Washington D.C. and killing everyone there, right? There's a difference between that and Europeans surviving that, right? And getting
There could have.
smashed with a fucking wave of asteroids that would, based on the impact scale, fucking microwave and ashify everyone and cause gigantic goddamn tsunamis that kills the survivors.
Well, here's the thing: if those asteroids were present and with that size, surely they would have been detected. Surely there would have been warnings. Surely humanity would have made some sort of system to defend itself.
Don't worry, President Hunter Biden II was like doing rails of coke. Or I don't know, Don Jr. or like Baron Trump was doing like a Minecraft Let's Play as the world ended. It's something like that. But
But
but you know, after
next,
fire comes cold because, you know,
yeah,
meteor.
Ice Age. So there's an ice age. Northern Europe gets blanketed in snow while Africa starts blooming as there's a more Mediterranean climate. And then, yeah,
I'd have to
civilizations
think about
rise
that
up.
because traditionally in ice age scenarios like that, possibly.
However, as it says, there's something uh, in the dark reaches of this brave new world lurking in wait to make its claim for supremacy,
Yeah, the
which
Metaplot aliens.
the primer.
Don't know what
And
any of that is.
this it comes as a black mist embedding microscopic spores into organic matter. The spores unravel and coiled in fractal loops around the very DNA of its hosts, adding
Oh,
nothing,
the thing Coyote
but
and Crow ripped off. Got it.
yep, instead rebooting its genetic code and opening alternative pathways to corrupt. The primer infected humanity, rejected their genetic code, and began to optimize what it found to create a new species.
Okay.
Homo Degenesis. They are better adjusted than the old humanoid species. They have outright psychic abilities. Uh, they pretty much, unchecked, would be the dominant species. However, uh, humanity has found a use for these spores because the primer, as it emerges initially, is sepsis. These fungal mycelia networks that grow, burst, and grow and burst, obviously,
They
as
wouldn't call it sepsis because that's a specific term for how the blood gets infected and gets all rotty.
from the point of view of humanity, yes.
It's just the problem is it's an actual medical term and one of the major classes that you can play as a doctor. So, you know,
Yeah. Um,
that's why I'm pointing that out.
the thing is that if you inhale these cusps of these spores, it's a drug. It's an it's a drug. It allows you to traverse spheres of cascading color, by themselves orbiting a resplendent sphere made of basset and purest emotions. Cold suddenly becomes bearable. Hunger is just a dying star within the brain's galaxy of neurons. So in a post-apocalyptic world, heroin is a godsend.
Okay.
The
I
problem,
mean, as soon as you started describing how they were going to turn it into a drug, I kind of fucking knew what they were going to do with it.
yeah, um, there is something odd though. Those who get infected by it, obviously more and more of it entrenches into your body, and you start developing a physical sign, a sort of a symbol on your body. Seven known symbols that brand the burn, each hailing from a different region. One blossoms on the bodies of those who were born in Borca, despite the region being devoid of spore fields. Other marks all who grew up in the shadow of Franco's pheromone vents. So, that doesn't make sense.
It doesn't.
It doesn't. So what the hell's going on?
I don't really know, and I just feel like that this is something that's like a mystery box thing.
It's I think it's supposed to be metaplot.
Oh,
Um, the the other factor, which is how homogenesis gets created. So those who are born around the spore fields, or those who have, you know, ingested the spores and have children, the children are different. As described, their eyes are as cold and lifeless as the starry sky. They don't recognize their mothers, but they smell the milk, follow it like a bee follows the scent of nectar.
Oh, they're just repurposing basic zombie, like fungal zombie things have been a thing for a while. This is a
They're
There's a
no, they're
zombie
not.
movie that deals with that where the kids basically get infected with it. That's what this is. That's where they got it from.
You could,
I think it's
however,
called The Hungries or whatever.
yeah, however, they they're sentient. They're not like, in just zombies. They're sentient and they are not human. They are a different species altogether.
Similar to how the Hungries work, only the difference is they don't kill their mothers like they do in that one.
And different areas have developed relationships with them. For instance, uh, the and they also have different abilities. The ones in Poland develop subcutaneous lumps that harden, fuse into bone shards, and grow spurs.
Translation: that way we can make the regions look different.
Yes, Francas are ferromancers. Uh, Balkans emit otherworldly sounds which bore into people's minds until they reach the deepest subconscious level and start reaching out with shadowy tentacles. In Hyperspania, they are prognosticators. And Pagare,
Translations: Nobilis navigate.
yeah, Pagare, they're telekinetic wizards, essentially. None in Africa, though. That's interesting. None in Africa.
Well, you see, the Africans get the beneficial one because otherwise, you got to make sure you don't get accused of things.
Well, they also align with a chakra, which is
Okay.
very strange. Um,
So does that would explain why? So later parts in the book, I'm gonna have to censor because they couldn't actually choose to not show off cleavage, or in one case,
it,
the junk. So
it's Europe. It's
basically, well, no. So basically,
well,
that means that one of them, because is a chakra that's connected to your asshole, you could have asshole chakra monsters. Okay.
no. They
So
also,
far, this is not fascinating me any more than it did in Coyote and Crow.
well, at least in this one, it's not all everything's okay. No, there's actual danger with injecting yourself with the strange alien mutagen.
Who'd have thought that injecting yourself with the strange alien fungus up your butthole would destroy your fucking spirit? I don't know.
So there's also strangely a connection to different animal species. So pollen, the
So that's why Coyote and Crow stole it. Okay.
the psychonauts there are connected to spiders, scorpions, centipedes, venomous wasteland scum. The Ferromancers of Franca, surrounded
Bugs.
by ants, wasps, and
Yeah, I know.
termites.
Bugs. Eat the bug. Be the
Uh,
bug. Be the pod.
yeah, the Balkan aquatic plagues: bog kraken, jellyfish, crawfish. Spain: starfish, shells, urchins, trilobites, and pagarins, leeches, mosquitoes, ticks, fleas, and tapeworms.
They're mostly picking the animals that add to the body horror, if you're wondering.
Definitely, yes. Um, and
Because this is
there,
very much a. I have already, as I've said, I have a prediction. This is basically Morkborg if they fucking tried. This is Morkborg if they tried. Because
well, unlike
a lot of
Morkborg,
it's
there is hope.
vibes.
There is hope for the setting, unlike Morkborg, where literally the book has rules for you to end the world.
Well, yeah, because you need lights in the darkness, or else you're not going to have any chiaroscuro, no divergence of light and dark. That's like basic writing 101. It's why people who do meta plots that make things get worse are idiots.
Hey, don't shame Games Workshop. They're making a shit ton of money by doing that.
So that's just exploiting people. That's just exploiting fentanyl addicts. Only they're plastic addicts instead of fentanyl.
Hey, I perfectly can control my addiction to plastic.
But by
So,
the way, yeah, I know that the Africans aren't necessarily a good thing, mainly because they have the equivalent of the Venetian merchants, who will fucking destroy you if you don't pay them back.
I do like though the language they describe with France. and the big spore field that's connected to it. In Franca's massive central, there's a gaping wound. Pheromones sweet as nectar spill from dirt vents and flow down the crater slopes, wash around people and insects, and make them part of Franca's Earth Chakra collective. Here, Homo degenesis and Homo sapiens live close together. Unlike anywhere else, man is on the same level as a swarm of insects. In Souffrance, he has devolved to a drone.
Okay. That doesn't interest me at all then, because it's just be the bug, be the pod. That's kind of boring. That's kind of
But
boring to me.
but it's more that I just the language of it is like how fucked things are.
It's good language choice, but it makes it a completely uninteresting setting. Now, if this was like a minis monster thing, like this feels like they tried to make a minis game, but they didn't think
Fun
they could make the minis, so
fun
instead they made
fact.
an RPG.
They are making a game. Clan Wars. It got fully funded. So
Uh,
if you want to get plastic miniatures to represent the stuff we're talking about, look up Clan Wars.
Or don't. If you're like me and you're already kind of tuning out, don't.
But now we'll get to what's going on in Africa. So,
But by the way, I for Hyperspania, the fun shit post is mirar just means to watch.
oh yeah.
Just for those who can actually read a bit of Spanish, it just means to watch.
Uh, or in Pagari, Nox, night.
Yeah.
So
Oh, is
the
that where the
psycho
fentanyl Draculas come from?
no.
There's a group of people called the Palers who are all pale. I call them fentanyl Draculas because that's
No,
kind of what
no,
they look like to me.
they're the vault dwellers.
So they're all pale skinned and like fucking albino white.
Yes.
Yeah, fentanyl Draculas. That's what I'm gonna call them because that's what they look like. Fentanyl Draculas.
You're not too far off, I'd say. But the psychovore. So, projectile that hit the continent created a massive scar over 1,245 miles long, 185 wide, the Dobura.
Oh, that's what the weird
That's what the
weird leg
weird
thing
scar
is.
is. And what this does, though, it apparently created a lot of trees, a lot of vegetation. Um, but it changed. Leaves grew in geometric hexagons and octagons. Every branch bristled with thorns. The trees were laden with glassy fruit that splintered when they fell.
Oh, that's stolen from a sci-fi book where it's basically the same thing. It's a terraforming device that lands on Earth that slowly rewarps everything to its crystalline entities.
Yeah.
I know at least the basics of where they're stealing from, and that's a very obvious example of one.
Uh,
It's called the Shimmer, if I recall.
there's also an interesting thing. When the sepsis and the psychivore, despite being from the same source, uh, they they can't be near each other. They rot. They they contradict.
Okay. And the
Then we
psychivores eat people's brains, essentially, yeah?
yeah,
Okay.
it they don't have, their
I feel like that's just their attempts at saying, here there be Draculas, or here there be dragons.
there obviously were developing some meta plot with this, but it didn't develop further. Uh, but now we move on to the cultures. So we have the Borkins, which are your Germans. There's an east and a west, like there used to be. Um, there is Franca, which is again taken over by the
Be
Degenesis.
the bugs, be the pod.
Yeah. Poland is Poland. It's a cold, harsh, unforgiving place. It
It's actually not that bad, but, you
it
know.
hasn't changed. Yeah. Um,
I mean, the misery and alcoholism hasn't changed, but, you know.
then there's the
That's Slav things. That's just Slavic.
Then there's the Balkans, which again are the Balkans. Um,
But by the way, this is just to
but
break
but
up
without
the
yeah,
visuals. which they
Yeah.
don't need because they already had visuals previously, so you didn't need to do this, but okay.
But this time without the religious and ethnic violence. Now it's just violence.
I feel like I feel like that was done specifically because they knew that the only way to get the Balkans to work together was an apocalypse.
Maybe.
Oh yeah, Poland is now like architectonic. Yeah, that's fair. That is fair. I forgot about. I keep forgetting that an ice age is going through, so like my brain isn't acknowledging it.
Then there's Spain, which is being colonized by Africa this time.
I find it interesting that the sub-Saharan Africans are calling it Alhambra.
Yeah. Pagare,
Also, Neo-Libyan consuls, so they're borrowing from Rome, but they're using Arabic, but they're not Arabic because they're clearly sub-Saharan in origins, or Tuareg. Hmm.
it feels to me it's going with the vibe of it's a merging of this cultural stuff without any understanding of
I
connection.
think because it's not European, they didn't fucking know what to do with them.
I would may
Because if I was
well,
going
that
to make a mercantile African power, I would not base it in Libya. I would not call them Neo-Libyans. Carthaginians, that would be an example. Tunisians, Neo-Barbaries. You could do, let me think, Timbuktu, Neo-Ghana,
Timbuk
Neo-Songhai.
3.
Yeah, Timbuktu. Why not?
But then Pagare, it
It's
is
explained by a Pan-African language coming to be thanks to the sports.
y- yeah,
Oh,
spooky. You kind of spoiled that revelation.
oh,
There, yeah, it's
oh.
yeah. That's the thing that to me it's like
So, all right, knocking it down a point. By the way, I just because of the design ethos of this book, the highest I can rate it's good. So that's. Oh my! Look at all the red marks I have on this. Oh
so.
my!
Pagare is Italy, and that's where religious people are murdering each other.
I mean, it's where the Pope is. Why
Well, no, no,
not?
not the Pope anymore. The Catholics are gone. Now it's the Anabaptists
That is the
as they
stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard.
as they fight the demiurge.
That is the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard. But okay.
I mean, there's been stupider religions that have started in Europe. Remember the Adamites?
I am aware, but my rebuttal to this is if you somehow survived the fucking meteors that destroyed everything, I would imagine the Catholic Church would be one of the things that would probably survive. Could it mutate into something else? Sure, you could call it the Catholites. That would have made more sense. But
Well,
basing it
may,
on the eternal losers of the Protestant Reformation, whose best examples can be seen among the Hutterites and the Amish, probably not a winning plan.
then again, post-apocalyptic Amish. Who
They would
doesn't want
survive.
that?
They would survive. And if I was making an American branch of this, I would totally make them one of the cultures, which they did. And after the end, I think it would work rather well.
Yeah. So Africa, uh,
Pan
it is
Africanism,
flourishing.
ignore the tribalism because we're Europeans and don't know fucking shit about them.
Yeah. Everyone around the
By the way, the
Cyclops
market sells
thinks,
spices. Where? From India? Because that's where most of the spices come from, asshole.
where did salt come from?
Salt traditionally did come from Africa, mainly because of salt pan marshing. Although you could
There
also
you
get it.
go.
Well, no, you can also get it from Arabia and India as well.
That's gone too.
The Arabians and Indians traditionally were the nexus point of spice trade.
Someone
However,
still,
you know what you could have? You could have glorious child slavery for chocolate. Because chocolate is has been
yay.
exported to Africa. The problem is, okay, I have come up with a concept. Psychovore chocolate where it becomes a hyper addiction because it's
Actually,
from
that
the
could work
cacao plant.
because as they state here, everyone around the Cyclores find themselves abandoning their native language, relapsing into a primordial tongue that only those close to the plants can understand. Under the influence of the Psychivores, all language barriers have fallen and Africa has united, but the diversity of their tribes and peoples have been diluted as well.
Wait, so what you're saying is they've, wait, they've become primordial tongue.
basically,
No, that means that these guys are secretly based because they're like, look, all these people that are sub-Saharan with their high melanins, they've degenerated into ape speech thanks to the
oh
plants they
God, no.
smoke.
Oh no, no.
No, they did because of the primordial tongue. They have returned to monkey speech.
I
Whoops!
would have reworded this as
Whoops!
the language of Babel, if they changed it to that. Um,
They could have called, they could have actually, yeah, if they said it was, if they called it Babel or Babylonian, I would have been
yeah.
fine with it.
We also do get a description of what happens if you get scratched by a psychivore. Your skin will start to blister, boil searing, and turns black in seconds.
Oh, so that's why they're all black.
Different kind of black, the kind that says there's no life in this part of the body.
True.
But because of this dilution, the cults, specifically the Neo-Libyans, the Scourgers, and the Anubians, are in control. And what are those cults? Well, we'll go on to explain that.
So there's 13 of them, even though in a post-apocalypse setting there should actually probably be something more like a shit zillion. So the reason I call it that is a cult is, there is the cult where it's like 6 people in a shack talking about Dianetics and jerking off to the end of the world as they're about to commit a crime. That's one version of a cult. But then there's the older type, which is actually just an organized religious body. This is what they're going through, sort of, kind of, not really. I don't think they thought this through. Um, there's a lot of those. Like, just legitimately in, say, the ancient Greeks, they had like 100 different cults. So this is a little bit
They're,
sparse
yeah,
for such a wild world setting.
they're using cult in a just a different way. Um,
Yeah, these look more like, or okay, so this is my
they're more like
problem.
institutions or organizations,
They should
but
have been called that, the institutes, because these aren't cults.
they aren't. But it's just snappier than multisyllabic institution or organization.
Yeah, but the word cult has meaning. You can't just shit all over it.
Eh,
There's a
but
reason. There's a reason vampires use the term clan and covenant. Werewolves
the
uses the term tribe for a reason. I would, if they called them tribes, the 13 tribes, that would have been fine.
that yeah, but that could be interpreted differently.
They already made the black people have a proto-ape language, so I don't think they care. Well, actually, they
So
do care. They just didn't think it through.
yeah, so the first cult is the Spitalians.
AKA,
The
AKA American healthcare, only with the Canadian point of view on inconvenience to quality of life.
uh, yeah, so
It's basically,
they are
fuck you,
really
pay me. Oh, you have a terminal illness, shoots you in head.
well, no, it's more like, wait a minute, you have a spore infection, shoots you in the head. They are pretty much dedicated to fighting the sepsis. They will burn that shit down. They will wipe it out. No questions asked.
So why are they called Spitalians?
They're from a hospital.
Yeah, but it's Hospitalars. I know it's coming from
Post
the ter-
apocalypse.
I know it's coming from the root word hospital. It's just, I don't know.
I
What
the other
racist
thing though is that
RPG material are we covering now? No, it's just accidentally racist.
it, the
It's
they
not
do
even
it.
racist. They
Yeah,
were trying to do something and they just phrased it wrong.
yeah. Um, the thing is though, they are doctors. They know medicine, and in post apocalypse, the fact that they're doing things like enforcing hygiene laws and you know healing people is a benefit.
Yeah,
It's just it's not given out freely.
I liked them better when they were called the followers of the apocalypse.
Yeah, but those are hippie scum.
I liked it better when they were called the followers of the apocalypse.
These guys wear skin tight suits, gas masks, and swords.
They also show their cock and balls through the bulge. You can kick them in the dick and they'll just fall over
Well,
sobbing.
I mean, if you need to have a quick cup check.
Look, I'm just
But,
saying that because of the way their suits are designed, I can give one of these guys a prostate exam with a chainsaw.
yeah. Next up, though, is the Chroniclers. The stream once extended over the world and touched every mind. It recorded and cataloged every moment, the pure digital knowledge of mankind bundled in its own evolutionary algorithms.
Basically, these are the descendants of Redditors and 4chanerites.
Well, streamers as well. So Twitch.
I'm just now
These are
envisioning like a post-apocalyptic version of XQC, and he looks exactly like he already does because he kind of looks like a post-apocalyptic mutated gremlin in real life.
I thought you would be referring to the Asmongold.
I mean, they kind of look. They're both
I
filthy
mean,
and
he
emaciated.
already lives in a post-apocalyptic environment.
They're already filthy and emaciated, so you know.
Um,
But by the way,
so
the thing that kind of made me very sad was they tend to dress like stalker characters. So I was like, oh, they're the stalker characters. And then you read what they are and you go, oh, they're fucking lame.
they're nerds.
No, they're not.
They
They're
want
not
to.
even nerds. They're lame. These are the people that like cataloged and kept storage of the cum jar. They kept that green text, My Little Pony experiment.
Well, yes, it's ancient. It's ancient knowledge. I mean, think about it.
These
We have, we have,
these
we
are
have that
tech
Sumerian.
priests at home.
Yeah, we have a joke from the Sumerian civilization about a dog going into a bar. We don't know the meaning of it, but we keep it. Why? Helps us to retain history. It's
It's
useless
cute.
fucking information.
It's cute. It's just when you think about these are the people that would unironically, without understanding what it means, give like the fucking OK sign as a salute going poggers. That's how you could literally role play them as that.
Yeah, they do
So
want
far so
to be
far this is my
mysterious.
so far they are the lamest fucking group that I've looked at, but they're also my favorite. So this is a positive.
Yeah.
Let's add a positive point to Degenesis. I like them
Then we
because they're
have
losers.
the Helvetics, which are the Swiss. As
Uh,
in, they literally are the remnants of the Swiss military dedicated to the security of their old cantons.
I think it's interesting because the Swiss actually, while they do have a military, it's mostly just citizen service. So
So it is the remnant of the Swiss. And
yes and no.
because of where Switzerland is positioned, the uh, it basically is the gateway between Europe and Africa, and
You know, it's
they get a
funny.
lot of money from that.
Despite being European, I don't think they actually understand how the Swiss military works because it's a lot of yeah, they have a professional corps, but like a lot of it's also volunteers.
I think these are the survivors of the professional corps.
Fair enough. Oh, by the way, the chroniclers also run the banks and are the student. Well, that makes me lose interest in them. Okay, let's get rid of that positive. I'm not gonna add a negative though. I forgot that they can destroy the economy just because they know the basics of it. Oh. All right,
They, they,
that's a
I,
neutral.
I found this recording about Keynes. And they just instantly know what to do.
Them being a bunch of people who try to get the internet working again is a lot more interesting than those aspects. So that's why I'm like losing enthusiasm for them.
Then we have the judges.
Oh, by the way, yeah, I'm aware of them, Sir Spooky, because I've actually looked at. Again, I've skimmed at the book at least on visuals. The Helvetics literally look like reject designs from looter shooters. Like, if you told me that some of them were rejected characters from like Overwatch, I'd fucking believe you. Oh, and the judges are cowboys. They all look like cowboys.
They're German cowboys, bringing justice to the wasteland with hammers and muskets.
Well, given that one of the books has a topless Native American in it, yeah, sure. Yeah, I don't understand why this European setting has literal cowboys when they
The
probably
Euro-
should be based more on like Landsknechts
they
or
love
Cossacks.
cowboys. They love cowboys. They just do.
I don't
I
know. There's just something about it that makes me think they should look more like Landsknechts or like fucking Hussars or anything but cowboys. I don't know. There's just something about it.
Oh, there is one character in one of the books that's an old guy with a poofy, wig. So I guess that's your European flair.
Nah, because the American colonials had that too. Because we borrowed from the European traditions in the late 18th century. Yeah, I know
So
they're
you say
cowboys with hammers. I get it. It's just they're cowboys, and I
with
feel like
hammers.
that's I don't know. There's just something kind of I don't know. There's
Yep.
just something about it that kind of goes. This is a European setting. Why?
But then next there are the clanners, which
Oh
are
no, they fucking came over here. Get out of here, Clan Wolf. I don't fucking like you.
well, unlike those clans, these have developed over 500 years and are actual Stone Age barbarians
Oh, the
in
Ooga
many
Boogas
cases.
that you put in there so that you have things to either kill or be hit with stick. I get it.
Well, you have guys like that. You have like survivors of
Yeah, I want to be chaos
civilizations
cultists.
that
Got it.
well, no, civilizations that were destroyed, so they're very high tech. And in one case, Russians riding woolly mammoths.
Okay.
Next up are the scrappers, the guys who tear shit out from old buildings and sell them to the chroniclers.
Yeah,
There's a bit
yeah,
of a
yeah, the
problem
pipe.
though.
Yeah, the guys who sell pipes to smoke crack. Got it.
Yeah. Uh, there's a problem though. It's been 500 years. Most of this has been picked clean, and the only where else is usually in very hidden, probably highly guarded and highly dangerous vaults.
That's why they're going to look like rejects from the hills have eyes.
Then there's the Neo-Libyans, African merchants.
Yeah,
They're also hunters. They love hunting. Then the Scourgers.
which by the way, that's why I don't quite understand why they're the way they are.
So the what do you mean?
The Neo-Libyans just kind of feel like random colonizers kind of
I,
scrabbled together.
I think they weren't trying to get a theme of colonization here.
It just
Um,
it doesn't blend well, and it feels like it's
yeah.
kind of slapped together.
Eh. But next is the Scourgers. They are
They
sort of
are
a
literally the
tribal,
Resident Evil 5 tribals.
but as almost like a semi-professional military.
You say that like they have military vests, but then they go full like legitimate witch doctor, like Central African witch doctor getup.
Oh no, that's the Anubians. They believe they're the chosen ones.
By the way, here's another thing that you could have really fucking cut because it doesn't need it. This quote and this page is completely superfluous. Fuck you.
Yeah. The Anubians believe they have 7 circles branded on their skin to represent the 7 transformations they must endure to become a perfect vessel of Ka. They guide people from life to death, performing ceremonies to placate the ancestral spirits and their grudge against everything still living. They're also useful in understanding the psychovore and turning the fruit into potent drugs. Um,
Okay, so basically witch doctors, but they were like, you know, it's really cool, the Egyptian god of the dead, and we didn't really think through on how to use ancient Egypt as a culture, so fuck
well,
you, here
well,
you
there's
go.
also something. Their main base is in Cairo. Cairo is overgrown with the psychovores.
Yeah?
W-
That's
So
that's
most
on
people,
them. That's on them. I
no, most
personally think
people
that's
can't
on
get
them.
in there. Most people can't get in there. So what's in there?
I don't know and I don't really care because it's metaplot horseshit.
Well, then next up is I'd say one of my favorite factions, the Jahamadans. They're nomadic Jewish Muslims.
They're not Jewish at all. They're Ishmaelites, which means they're actually all Arabs. So no, your people fucking died or got blended into them.
Yeah, probably. Basically, some guy came up, Jahamad, proclaiming himself to be the last prophet,
By the way, if you're
and
wondering where they got that giga-brained name, so here's what happened. During the apocalypse, some fucking yokel, some fucking
oh
hyuk
no,
hyuk said, "I'm Jesus and Muhammad. I'm Muhammad." And there you go.
no, this is pre-apocalypse.
Yeah, some hyuk hyuk said, "I'm Jesus and Muhammad. I'm Muhammad."
But I do like how they're biblical literalists. You know, they're more than, the
They might
guys
be
who,
interesting. I'd have
well,
to
the
actually
guys
read them.
who proclaim, like, the King James Bible is the only true Bible, or, the Muslim fundamentalists who, like, want to bring
Only
things
their
back to the
Bible
way
is the
Muhammad
Bible.
was.
They're the
Yeah,
Bible.
these people are like, no, no, we are going to act like the first family, as in the father is an Abrami who marries both a Hagari and a Sareli, birthing either an Ismaili who tends to the goats, or an Isekai, who is a blessed child who will rise as a sword of Jahamma to fight the enemies, and then will begin the cycle anew. There is a third path, however, heeding the call of Ares, the ram-headed one.
Okay, so it's just kind of slapped together a little bit at the end.
Yeah. Then there's the apocalyptics who are like, fuck the world, man. Let's do drugs and sex and shit.
If I want
Yo.
that, I'd read Eclipse Phase.
Yeah, but you see, these are apocalyptic people.
If I wanted that, I'd just read Eclipse Phase,
Yeah. Then there's the Anabaptists.
which is also an attempt to make the Abrahamic faiths interesting without actually understanding the basics of Abrahamic faith.
You need only to walk the world with eyes open to see the truth of the neo-Gnostic teachings.
So
The
they're not
land was
even
once.
Christians. They're
They're
basically
not.
just some hibbity
They're
bullshit.
Gnostic. They're fucking Gnostics.
Okay.
The spawn of the demiurge, psychonauts, and all their carnality carry no divine soul.
hmm
The root of all evil is clear to see and must be hacked to pieces and cut out.
So here's my question: how the fuck did this stuff make it through, but the Old Testament and New Testament didn't fucking make it through?
Well, that brings up the next group, the Palers. They've been waiting for the divine ones to awaken for centuries, trapped underground in eternal darkness in their crypts.
Fentanyl vampires.
Glowing blue figures speak to the Palers from the walls, deep and crackling voices reinforcing their conviction that they are the righteous few chosen to one day throw open the gates to the surface, ruling the nations of this earth
Are they
alongside the divine
actually
ones.
just ripping off? Because that's the Sierra Madre fucking Fallout New Vegas thing. Oh my
Oh
god.
no, that wasn't. No, Sierra Madre was a fucking death trap.
Yeah, but
Uh,
the hologram thing that they had going for them, remember?
but those aren't the divine ones. No, you see, the Palers are meant to protect them until they open. You
Okay.
see, someone had a plan. Someone had a plan to reinvent the world after an apocalypse. And this is his plan.
I'm
And
already losing interest, but go on.
the Palers are those who unknowingly protect his plan. Though there are people that are somewhat opposed. The Marauders.
Wait, so how are the Marauders? What? Are these like...
Argyre the Vulture, One-Legged Aspera, Ares the Ram, the Icebreaker, Chernabog, a dozen more, godlike entities drifting through civilizations for centuries now, circling like asteroids caught in Earth's gravitation field. There are these. It's said that bygone artifacts come alive in their hands, that machines talk to them, that impossible doorways into the depths of mountains swing open before them. So there are these entities, these humanoid beings called marauders that appear over time, and they can just do different things. They apparently can interact with ancient technology just by touching it. Um, they're impossibly strong and seemingly well lived. They need to seek out this these cartridges containing this thing called ambrosia.
So these are the anime, like, legendary villain monster thing. Okay, got it.
Well, they
They're
need,
metaplot bullshit. Got it.
yes,
I'm already, like, zoning out.
essentially some. They're searching for these items from this recombination group, RG, and
Oh, Jesus Christ.
they and they need what's ever in these cartridges to survive. They can't be trusted. They might be
Uh-huh.
able to be discussed with. Because, for instance, there's this one guy, Chernobog, who just recently started mobilizing a bunch of clans and pretty much destroying much of Eastern Borca,
Okay.
taking it over.
Okay. Chernobog, by the way, if you're wondering, is a Russian demon, so he's like a Russian I don't care. He's like a Russian survivor, and I already don't care.
And as Spooky's pointing out, that ambrosia, it's nanomachines, son.
Okay. I already don't care. That's a massive negative check mark in the book. I just don't care. By the way, here's UN helmets, which it's a nice touch that to show that they're salvaging scrap and basically recreating it. That's a nice touch.
Yeah.
I have to give credit to where things are good in this book because I'm gonna be blunt. There's a lot of bad in this book.
Now,
Like this waste of white space. Look at the amount of white space that these idiots wasted. There's a reason why they try. So here's a fun fact. Did you know that the people behind Degenesis tried to get a computer RPG game for it going? Do you want to know why they never were able to? So, okay, what do you know about an elevator pitch and how do you construct one?
um, I assume in an elevator.
Uh, you could. The concept is very simple. You only have a short period of time to really pitch your idea. So, with that in mind, how would you pitch Degenesis to me? Like, if
Let's
I wasn't already in like a negative mood. Like, let's say I'm playing this completely neutral.
follow up, but from a European perspective.
Fallout from European perspective. Okay. Can you describe to me a couple of the basic aspects of it?
It's 500 years after the apocalypse. There's different cultures that have risen up, um, fighting amongst each other, but also this strange new form of humanity.
Okay.
So it would be pitch would be perhaps a survival exploration game as you are recovering ancient relics, fighting off monsters, and trying to cooperate or conflict with various human civilizations.
Okay, so here's my question from there as the pitch man. Where would you have this take place? Like, could I have it take place in the ruins of London, or would it be like the ruins of Berlin, or could I do like the ruins of like Warsaw or
I
Italy?
would say the ruins of Warsaw.
Okay.
The way it's described, it's a very um, barren or tough wasteland, bit cold, um, but there's various, cultures that have risen up. Very, some that are more sort of nomadic or more uh, tribal-like. Others that are more high tech.
So, like,
Maybe.
could you give an example of some of the tribes, like a tribal one and one of a high tech one?
Oh no, we'd have to continue on. Not off the top of my head.
Okay. Congratulations, by the way. You actually constructed a pitch better than the Degenesis guys did. A normal pitch usually takes about 5 to 10 minutes at most. 5 minutes on average, 10 minutes at most. They took 45 fucking minutes to get to the point. Yeah, there's a reason they didn't get that RPG. There's a reason. And a lot of it is, well, I mean, you can kind of see we're on page 60 already. In an RPG book that's actually designed competently, this is where at its latest you should actually start dealing with the mechanics.
But now
But
we're going
we're
to be
not.
talking
We're
about
in not Germany.
Borka. So
Bork bork bork
Borka's
bork.
primary aspect is because there's the Reaper's Blow. There is a giant tear in the planet that is dividing east and west.
Mainly because they wanted the communist east and the capitalist west aesthetic again.
I guess. So West Borka, um, the north, still wintry. South, nature has returned. It's more of a steppe. place. There's these wild dog-like beasts called Gendos roaming the ruins.
Okay.
There is civilization, though. The largest metropolitan is Justitian. The Righteous Fist, it is
So
the
why would the Germans name it after a parodization of like a fucking Greek emperor?
because it was named by the judges.
So why would the American cowboys disguised as German people want to name it after? Oh, it's because of justice. Okay.
Yep.
You know, you have to actually really try hard to bullshit your way into making a city that reads like an emperor's name out of
Mm.
justice. It's kind of a fucking stretch.
So they have pretty much all the major cults there. The chroniclers controlled, I guess, the industry. Apocalyptics, uh, monopolize, as they say, all forms of sin. Um, there's, the Scrappers trading with the chroniclers, various different clans, such as the Steel Masters, who develop technology and the weapons for the judges. And with that establishment of a city, they have their own sort of like territory called the Protectorate.
Yeah, if you're wondering how they described Justinian, it basically just the best way to describe it is it's your average Fallout scrap city because it's made out of scrap and fucking rubble like most Fallout cities. Just
But bigger.
stretched out and trying to really go hard on purple prosing.
Yeah. The main narrative conflict here is the clans are rising up, monstrous clans like the cockroaches. Imagine, yeah, a clan that's called a cockroach. They're probably very friendly and not at all violent and feral.
So you're trying to hint that they're violent and feral, but here's the funniest thing. Cockroaches are actually rather peaceful creatures.
Yeah, but
They
these are
just hide
human.
in your walls. They hide in your walls, eat your garbage, and basically try to stay out of your way.
There's
They're
also
not. I know the humans aren't. I'm just
yeah,
pointing out it's just kind of funny.
there's also the city of Spital. This is the home of the Spitalians.
Okay.
This is where they just started, built up, and uh, conduct most of their research. There is a home for the Anabaptists called Cathedral City. There was also a place called Exalt. Exalt was once the epitome of civilization. Then it was crushed in the city wars. Exalt was forgotten. No map of the Protectorate showed it anymore. However, it was refound a few months ago, and the Exalters, they're back.
Okay.
They're building up.
I don't know what any of this shit means.
The other thing to mention is there's a symbol on Exalt. RG. Remember? The nanomachines?
No, I don't, because I already forgot that because you decided to waste 65 pages of your time trying to cram as much as you could down my fucking throat. Um, so okay, there's nanomachines for the meta plot. And here's the funniest thing. While they do an okay job at providing some visuals because they go hard on purple prosing a little bit, I, I don't know. I just there's something about how they describe each section of the city that doesn't really.
For me, I've enjoyed the Purple Prose.
I mean, I read Lovecraft and I do too. I like purple prose too. It's just this feels for all of the description of this city run by cowboys, it kind of feels fucking empty to me.
Well, they did release another book that filled that entire thing in.
You say that, but I think that's a testament of their failure and why they should have cut this fucking shit out.
Perhaps. There's another city, Nort. The city is said to have been untouched for over 500 years.
Okay.
Vegetation gradually claimed the buildings. Um, shrubs grow with pale pink fruit. No one harvests them. There are guards. Graceful movements under rotten rags, metal shadowed by cowls. Their voices are distorted, the sounds modulated at random. Those who get too close to Norrit will never leave the town again.
That's about as much description as I'd find in a book from that's basically the same level of description you'd see in Chalt.
Eh, though you can kind of get what they're saying. Who's guarding it?
Robots.
Yes. Now, why would they be guarding a random city?
I don't know, and I don't really care because it's gonna be due to metaplot garbage.
Yeah.
That's kind
Uh,
of the problem because they're trying to set up a meta plot, and my brain intrinsically revulses at that concept because meta plots, in my experience, fucking ruin your goddamn game.
oh, don't worry. What game have they ruined?
Fantasy,
That
Vampire the
that
Masquerade,
kind of had just an end time
Werewolf the
for a bit.
Apocalypse, Mage the Ascension. You name a meta plot, it fucks it up. Uh, oh, also technically BattleTech because they completely botched that one. They didn't even get to completely pull off the meta plot. They just gave up and botched it because of the transfer of rights. Like I said, if you try to put meta plot in your story, uh, in your in your fucking RPG, it is going to result in failure and tears. Then again, I come from the point of view of a constructivist, an organic kind of GM. I kind of like to make my own settings, so this doesn't really appeal to me just on an intrinsic level.
Well, next up as a society, Helvetica,
They're obsessed with typing.
and they're the Swiss. They're just the Swiss.
It's just typing. They're
Yeah.
just the nation that sells typewriters.
And in fact, that image coming up, that is their one of their bases, and you could tell it's theirs because they have the Swiss plus symbol.
Oh, I thought it was the Spital.
No, the Spital has the 8.
So anyway, then there's the East Germans, which are even more miserable because they're even more ooga booga.
And they're East Germans. They're being taken over by various
They've been literally
riotous
taken over
clans.
by refugees from the Middle
Yes.
East.
Well, no, from the Balkans
You're
actually.
saying that, but does that not really highlight how they like? Isn't it really funny that they're trying to be interesting and they accidentally more racism?
Yeah. But then up is Franca.
So anyway, yeah, the Eastern Balkans got culturally enriched by the
By
Jeebites.
well, no, but by the Black God's army, his massive throbbing horde of an army.
Oh, by the way, you forgot the Prague Republic. Yeah, they're a thing.
That got destroyed by Chernobog.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Black God came at night. With a gesture, he tore the towering ramparts down in a flash of sunlight, and his gaze alone was said to have ripped swaths through the minefields.
Okay. By the way, here's another example of wasted space. This entire page here could have really been useful elsewhere.
Hey, you needed to know the number 12.
I mean, I don't know how to count up to 12, so that does actually help me.
And the next up is Franca, which is well, you know how they said France surrenders?
It's the bug. Be
Yeah,
the bug, become the bug. I'm almost tempted to speedrun this because I find this complete. This is the least interesting part of the world for me.
also then the Africans took over the south part of France.
Are they are
They
they are
looted
they trying to be diverse, or are they just doing a racism? Because that's another joke you can make about France.
it possibly, but
I
also
feel like this is
literally
accidental.
literally civilization fucking collapsed. It's free real estate for guys who have fucking tanks and armies.
Yeah, I know.
They also have a way to use. the Ferromancers,
You're saying this, but it
I
really
guess
is
they're
just
puffs.
highlighting that the people who made this really fucking hate the French because they're emphasizing their ungovernable and non-human nature.
I will point out, I believe 6 More Vodka, the guys who created this, are German.
That would explain why they
That
fucking hate the French so much. Got it. By the way,
that could
yeah, this is
explain.
the least interesting section of the book for me.
Paris got taken over.
You could have done a lot of interesting things with France in the post-apocalypse, and they just kind of made them all ooga booga
Yeah.
bugmen, and that's really fucking
Um,
boring.
they turned. I believe they turned Benelux into a desert.
Because that's how geology works. Am I fucking right?
The Stew Cobb Desert, as it's called. And Britain.
By the way, here's the bugs. Be the bugs. Embrace the bugs. This sucks.
And then there's Britain. It is off limits because Argyre, one of the Marauders, is taken up.
That is that is the lamest way to content block because you couldn't be fucked to come up with anything for that region
Well,
ever.
don't worry. There's an entire campaign that they made for it.
So, all in all, I rate the France a -5 out of 10.
Then there's Poland.
Oh, no, no, no. I'm just going to point out more examples of wasted white space with the number 4. Like, I know how to count out at least up to 10. Come on. I don't need to know how to count to 4. Then there's this bit of wasted white space, which should have been further up here. That would have given you maybe another half a paragraph on both sides. That's a waste. Um, this symbol here is a fucking waste. There's way too many fucking bits of art. This is literally just Morkborg if they tried.
I mean, would it explain things if I tell you that the guys who did this primarily do artwork for video games?
You know, that would explain why they completely failed at this. That would explain why they completely failed at making an RPG. They're all style and they don't understand the basics of mechanics. That perfectly explains it. By the way, one last thing. You think this looks cool? It's kind of just a thing, and you could have used it for more detailing. Admittedly, that's the end of the section, but I'm just pointing out that like these are for people who really know about aesthetics in terms of visual arts. They don't seem to understand anything about book construction. Anyway, here's Poland.
The average Polish man.
Nah, he doesn't look depressed enough, and he doesn't have a bottle of vodka.
All right.
He also doesn't. He also isn't handing cigarettes to a bear.
So it turns out with Poland, so every
By the way,
satellite.
one of the funniest things I've ever seen is there's a great running series of like Polish people running up to random wildlife and laughing and like showing them off. I forget what specific animal, but it's like a running gag. It's really funny.
So 2071, every telescope and satellite was watching the asteroid field and gauging its size and course. And uh, road crosshairs are flashing over Europe, framed by ellipses gauging potential deviations. Hundreds of kilometers east of Warsaw, markers accumulated. The probabilities add up to an implacable 100%.
Okay,
So the Polish made bunkers, massive bunkers,
that's not
and
going to
hidden there.
save you if it's directly on ground zero.
Uh, I guess they.
Bunkers will not
I,
save
I could
you
make a
from.
I could make a Polish joke there.
Well,
The
no,
asteroid's
no,
going to
no.
hit. Well, the
Do you want
asteroid's
to
going to
know?
hit the land, so we just build under the land.
Here's my idea on what you could do because that's an American stereotypes of Polish people being kind of dumb. The actual stereotype is a Polish person, you could pay them like one fucking nickel, and despite being underpaid, they will put so much work into the product that it will be like beyond what you could expect. They are the giga chads of task mastering.
They're the
So
Mexicans
you
of Europe.
could play it up as, oh no, the Poles built these stupidly powerful bunkers that just fucking tanked the meteors.
They did.
You could, and it would work. But I would also not have them just be fucking wastelands. I would play up the fact that they're like masters of building shit or like doing fucking minimal like tasks with a smile. I would play that up if you're gonna go full fucking weird cultural race thing.
So they survived and built up their civilizations. They
I noticed that unlike the rest of the sections, they're actually. Well, I mean, I guess the French one also went over history. It's weird. Borka just kind of covered the areas while France and Poland don't.
they really emphasize, I think, Bork as the first area they were exploring, and they
Oh,
seem to be setting up things to explore, to have explored the other areas.
to me, the weirdest thing is, despite all of this plot details, the only areas that they really tried on was that one city, and then that's fucking it.
So,
That's the, that's the thing. Like you're noticing how, despite all of this lore, they don't really do anything with it.
yeah.
Like you kind of see why I think that this is not really a well-designed RPG.
Still, just I can see them. I can see that.
In
Although for
Poland,
me,
there is a growing bunker city killing monsters for resources. Okay, fair enough. That actually
yeah.
sounds pretty fun.
Um, and somehow uh the sepsis or the chakra changed because the Spitalians came in, the Anabaptists came in. It instead and created these fractal
By
forests.
the way, the term chakra is just making me fucking cringe every time they say it because I'm like envisioning someone doing fucking Naruto hand signs to use magic, and I just want to die every time I think of that.
And these fractal forests, they grow this fruit that an Anabaptist found, um, thinking perhaps this is the paradise of old. Perhaps this is Garden of Eden. He then, um, yeah, something happened with the forests when he touched them.
So
We
before
don't
you
know what.
do, I need to know, because they're called Anabaptists, do they actually understand the concept of baptism? Because I forget if
No, no. Remember, Gnostics. They are neo Gnostics.
you're saying that, but have you ever heard of the Mandaeans?
No.
You never heard of them. They are a Gnostic group of people. They are actual Gnostics who claim that their greatest and last of teachers was John the Baptist, and they regularly and routinely baptize themselves in the rivers that they live along.
Oh, those guys.
Yeah, just because you're
Ah.
Gnostic doesn't mean you can't get baptized. I forget if Anabaptists are the ones that actually reject the concept of a baptism, though, because there is, it might be. I don't quite remember, or they might have been the ones that basically believe you have to be baptized again to become one. By the
I
way,
thought those were
technically, I
evangelical.
believe the Southern Baptist Convention, I think those are technically Anabaptists. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I'd have to look it up
So,
again.
apparently, though, with this fruit, the highest ranking Baptist eat the fruit, and they create great revelations. So,
It's weed fruit. Okay, got it. High dia
it is
fruit.
we. However, what's interesting is that the primer changed to essentially force people to consume it.
You must eat the weed fruit. Gonna be honest, every time they mention that you have to eat a plant, I'm just kind of like, cool. We get it, dude. Weed Lamau. Calm the fuck down.
Hmm.
Wait. I think I just realized this is actually Chalt if it tried.
Well, without the
Well, no, because think about it. There's Booba, there's Ugly, there's ripping off other works, and on top of that, everyone gets high.
yeah, but it's not supposed to be a Gonzo comedy RPG.
As far as you know, maybe they accidentally pitched it really wrong because they didn't understand how to explain Gonzo.
Oh no. Though there is something in Roklaw, which I don't know if that's supposed to be a deviation of Warsaw.
No,
Um,
Wroclaw, I believe, is the actual Polish pronunciation of Warsaw, I think.
oh, sorry.
No, that's
There.
Warsaw. No, that's
Yeah.
Warsaw. That's Warsaw. Wroclaw, I think, is another city, though. Or it
Okay.
might be a mutation of
They may be
Warsaw.
led by the god Emperor of Mankind.
Uh, I I think that's the point where I give up on life, and
Well,
where's the medicine?
well, it's more that apparently the guy leading the city has been around since the beginning, since for 500 years, and will only die when Poland has risen back to its former glory
By the way, the Neo-Libyans
of
are doing the
1992.
happy merchant dance in Silk.
Yep.
Neo-Libyans rub their hands in glee. They're literally doing the happy merchant.
Yes. They are a specific kind of Venetian merchant.
By the way, I kind of love these random worthless side facts that they're throwing that eat up. Oh, look at this horse shit on page 91. Look at the fucking way this thing was fucking edited in. Look at this trash fire. How the hell do you specialize in art when you don't even understand the basics of fucking aesthetics? What? Why? Why? How the fuck?
For me, while I'm reading this, it doesn't bother me in the slightest.
It bothers me because do you know how many RPG books I fucking read?
A lot.
Yeah, and this is incompetent. This is highly incompetent in terms of design. This is catastrophically fucking moronic. By the way, I love how we need to see the silverfish. We need to see the American centipede. So let's just, waste a fucking third of our goddamn page. I wonder why we have a book that's longer than fucking Mage 20th Anniversary Edition. Hmm. By the way, fuck you. It's Gdansk. It's Gdansk, not Danzig. That's the German name.
Remember, these are Germans who wrote it.
It's Gdansk. Or if
They're
you
still
want, or
bitter.
if you want, you could call it, I don't know, the Zig or Danzig or something. Why does Danzig keep its name when other things don't? Is it because it's German? Is it because Gdansk was German?
It's rightful German clay.
Ugh. I like how a random Dutch person is here. And that's the main speaking person. I mean, at least it's Dutch and not German. That kind of
Yeah.
helps.
But then we have the Balkans,
Here's
which
another
is
here's another big waste of white space just for this quote. That's it doesn't need to be that big, and it doesn't need to shit this up.
which is it's correctly described as a powder keg.
By the way,
The
that is not
voice,
how tartans work, and that is not how body armor works. You are going to get your nipples twisted. You reject from a cyberpunk novel.
the so the region is controlled by various voivodates. I hope I pronounced that right.
That's yeah, that sounds about right because I mean most of the region is Slavic, other than the Romanians that speak a Romance language, and the Greeks which speak a Greek language, and the Albanians which speak their own devil language. Don't worry,
And
Albanians, you're my favorite out of that shit lot.
yeah, I guess to summarize is that they are uh just surviving, fighting
The
amongst each
best way
other,
to
fighting the
describe them,
Africans.
they have become monkey.
However, you were right in saying that the fentanyl vampires are here because a bunch of the recombination group bunkers are there. As I say, a few years before the Eschaton, recombination group expanded the labyrinth with bunkers and supply tunnels and drilled shafts into the Carpathians. Thousands of people went into the mountains, guarded by mercenaries. Project Tannhauser. The sealed doorways closed behind them. The stars fell, the world burned. Centuries later, the entrances were unlocked once again. However, what emerged into the world from behind them was just a shadow of what had entered. The former guards had become pale creatures, strangers to the sun and adapted to a life in darkness. The Palers. In the deep, they still cling to their ancient, misunderstood rituals, prey to tricks of the light, and wait for the sleepers, their gods, to awaken. It's past time for them to show up. The algae tanks are dry, the stomachs rumble. Palers need to live off something. Surely not off work. Rough laughter echoes through the tunnels, lending texture and dimension to the darkness. After all, they are chosen to one day follow the gods to the surface. So the Palers take what they need from the world above. This is from pastures under the cover of night, tap wells and attack villages. Harvest moon. But the Balkani are not at all defenseless.
I mean, I'll give credit. The concept of the fentanyl vampires becoming being basically the Morlocks is fun. It's a fun concept where the guards become the Morlocks because that's essentially what it is. It's a permutation on the time machine. Because remember, in the Time Machine, H.G. Wells, the Morlocks evolved from engineers that were forced to work in the great manufactories that were built under the earth so that they did not despoil the nature above. While the Eloi, which became their food, were originally the effete noblemen and capitalists who ruled over them. That's kind of essentially what the Palers are, in a way. I don't
Yeah.
dislike the concept. It's one of the bright spots in what I think is a kind of desolate setting.
Then they describe various the voivodes from the voivode Belgrade with its twin towers, which will surely prevail, unless of course the Trinidad has planes, and then we're fucked.
Oh, Chernobog's okay. I, I just don't find that threat interesting, so that's kind of boring to me.
I mean,
There's also
overall, the
Voivodate
yeah,
Sofia, which is Bulgaria.
yeah, Voivodate Dalmatia,
Well, no, there's Bucharest.
Karakan.
Jesus Christ, navigating this section sucks. If you just want to get details on like one area.
Yeah, I'm starting to see the problem.
Hmm.
The
It's all style and not as much
one
substance
thing
as you
though,
think.
the Turks may have survived.
I'm not surprised. They're part of the Balkans.
The Psychobor did get up there, but according to legend, the children of the Turks hide amidst the strange, highly dangerous plant front. They survive in hermetically sealed enclaves. When they leave, they wear protective suits made from the bulbous plastic that shimmer in the dim light beneath the trees. So I just do like the fact the Turks survived, of
Yeah,
all things.
everyone must know Turkey is okay.
And then there's Hybrospannia, which is at war with the Africans.
Yeah, here's all the dead people.
Yeah, they tried to build a dam to connect Africa to Spain, but then greedy people, Spanish oil prospectors came down and
There's no,
attacked.
there's no, from what I understand, there's like no oil in that region. No.
Well, now I'm just imagining.
By the way, do you want to
Um,
know how retarded it is to build a dam down there? Or anything down there, like a bridge? Do you want to know why people don't choose to do that? Do you want to know how deep the Straits of Gibraltar are? We're talking I think they're about a kilometer. It's surprisingly deep. It's not like the English Channel, which only goes up to about less than a little over 100, I think, in its deepest spots. No, you gotta fill that shit in deep. And on top of that, do you want to know another thing? It's located on a fault line, which means there's a lot of tectonic activity there that you have to basically engineer to cope with. Now, admittedly, in the 2070s, I could see them being able to deal with that, but I kind of think the fucking asteroids would destroy it, either from the impact directly, causing earthquakes, or, the side effects of no maintenance causing it to rip apart.
the one thing that I'm just imagining with the oil prospectors is that you have the
Clowns.
Spanish version of humongous. You just have Spaniards reenacting Mad Max.
I ask you, amigo, Just walk away. Just walk away.
And the Africans came back and kicked their fucking ass.
I mean, if the nexus point of the asteroids are primarily in Europe, I'm not surprised. Let's be blunt. Do you know what my opinion on this is? Hey, remember the conquista that the Muslims did? Hey, let's just use that again. That sounds like a great use. We could have
The
Cordoba, which was the center of. That's kind of
Yeah,
my thoughts on that.
it's the reconquista.
It's basically, hey, remember the Emirate of Cordoba? I remember. Let's use that.
Although it's also Vietnam. You see, a jungle now exists in Spain,
Climate, what's that? Rainfall, what's that? I know
and
I know it's alien like
that's
fucking
yeah,
foliage. I have to make fun of it.
and that's where the guerreros are fighting off the Africans with the help of the um, psychic time degenesis creatures
Okay. I mean, if this is just a peninsular war, but with like Reconquista and Jeanette's,
and
okay.
time travel.
That that's kind of fucking lame. I'm gonna be honest. It sounds like it should be cool, but because it kind of sounds so relatively soulless, given what options you could have done with Spain, I'm kind of disappointed. No offense. I mean, some of it is because I think it might be because of my I think it might be because I at least have some understanding of history and I've at least covered that kind of neck of the woods. But when you're kind of just stapling together things that you could have done and comparing it to what you did, it's kind of sad. Do you want to know an example you could have done that could have been really funny?
What would you think?
Okay. How familiar are you with Spain in the 16th century?
Somewhat.
Okay, imagine a place that emphasizes dour, extreme Catholic austerity. Everyone wears black. It's well known for like a literal palace being known as the Mourning Palace because it is so dark and miserable in architecture. Imagine these extremely pious, dour, and fucking miserable people that essentially are waiting to that are essentially because they believe in the gift of the next life, they are more than willing to die in this one because
Yeah,
to them they see existence as suffering.
that's kind of I feel like what they're trying to get across here.
And it's not succeeding. It's not succeeding.
Considering again they have that prognosticators who can kind of tell them what the future is
Also, the
going to
fact that
be.
they're kind of throwing in deep ones with titties, that's kind of what they are. That
Yeah,
doesn't
pretty
really
much.
help. Also, the jungle thing kind of ruins the aesthetic of Spain. Let's be That's the other thing because they keep changing the climate, they kind of fucking ruin the aesthetics of the region. So, it's just, hey, Europe, let's just randomly plop terrain here. So, here's some random crap that they have here. Yeah, these are just like random stories of the Death War.
Yeah.
Uh, in an example of the most Africa ever, Jafar spelled wrong, consul, which is a Roman term. You know, there are other terms you could have used, like emir. Emir
Well,
could work.
I don't know. For me, like what I'm hearing, oh, it's misspelled, and they're using these different terms. It
Musa,
feels
you could
like
use the
it.
term Musa, which is a term for king,
It feels
or was it Mansa? I think Mansa was
like
the term for
like
king.
Warhammer, like the Age of Strife era, where they're just mixing up all these human cultures together, and you can kind of
Yeah, but
piece out what they are.
my problem with that though is then I have to go, oh, so they're ripping off Warhammer then.
Well, even then, it's more ripping off.
because that's my problem. Like if you try to use that as the defense, you're basically saying, oh well, they're just ripping off Warhammer in that regard, where it's just kind of like,
Well, it's the whole thing of post-apocalypse. You just see it everywhere where they kind of
no,
merge
I'm
different
aware,
cultures
I'm
together.
aware, but traditionally what you do is you try to blend them together in a way that makes sense. In Fallout, for example, Kaiser's Legion, despite being much more based on Alexander the Great, still in principle tries to follow the concept of the Roman Legion, at least. That's an example. The New California Republic tries to follow and uphold the qualities of the United States with all of its good and ill. Those are two examples. To go further back and to not use New Vegas, because let's be fair, that's not fair. Um, Let me think. I can't really use Fallout 3 because I don't remember it that well, which is a testament to that game's blandness. Uh,
Well, okay, you mean the Shi, the descendants of a Chinese nuclear sub that are
that grew
also
up in
just
San
Chinese
Francisco
street games?
area and it's led by the
Yep,
Chinese supercomputer. Yeah,
yep.
I'm aware.
Um,
Then there's also Vault City, which is an evolution of a vault basically coming out and building a society around itself with themselves as the first citizens and the rest as secondary.
the Minutemen from Fallout 4.
You have the ghouls from Bakersfield that
Oh
have their
yeah.
own city of the dead. See, I understand blending and mixing and matching, but there's doing that, and then there's just kind of slapping shit together because you couldn't be arsed for anything for Africa other than you just realized you wanted Saracens and Mohammedans to basically shit things up.
Well, we can't. They do bring up Africa and detail it later, but next up though is Pagare,
Italy!
which yeah, it pretty much is under control by the
By the
Anabaptists.
way, since we have another example of a sort of kind of Mayan, kind of Indo-Aztecan kind of look, this is another reason I'm kind of shitting on it because this is Europe. That's something I have to bring up. By the way, at some point, I know there's going to be boobs because there is boobs in here. I don't know if we're going to get to that.
I don't think UT will ban us for showing one tit.
It might, given that I did not make this 18 plus.
Eh,
So yeah, the lands of the chosen. Welcome to Italy, which is a shithole.
yeah. And
This is
the
Italy.
Anabaptists are slowly taking away local traditions and replacing them with what they have.
Uh huh.
So
I kind
yeah,
of hate that specifically
yeah.
because it's a testament to their. They could have done something really cool with the Catholic Church. They could have even potentially had a reformation of the Catholic Church, or perhaps an evolution where a new book beside, like you could have had a new prophet, like how Jehoiakim exists, that
Uh,
specifically evolves Christianity into a new phase based on how during the apocalypse you have essentially Christ returning. You could have done something with that,
hmm. Well, they
but
do
they
make a point.
don't.
They do make a point though that family means everything to Pagaran. It's all about the family.
It's all about the Italy and the family.
And then the issue of, I
Purgatory,
guess,
signs and
yeah,
wonders. Yeah, family chosen.
with
So
the
so because Italy isn't Germany, they didn't give a shit. So they're just kind of shitting stuff out.
various cities like Bergamo,
Bergamo is a real city.
Veneto.
Veneto is Venice.
Yep. Let's see. The ruling family, the Catalanos,
So that's
stubborn,
really
extremely
funny.
superstitious clan.
That's actually really funny because Venice, if you're going to rip off the Italian city states, Venice traditionally, while it did have rich families, it this is more of like Milan. This is more like a Milan sort of thing, or Florence with the Medicis. So that's a bit of a fuck up. Maybe you should have wiped out more of Italy so you could do like what you did with the Germans. Then there's Santiago and Cruces, which is on the Western Adriatic. I don't really explain much.
Yeah. There's Perugia.
Perugia is a real city.
Macerata, L'Aquile.
These are fake cities that were added,
Yeah, it's all about their relationship with the Anabaptists.
which is kind of lame. You could have done some interesting Italian city-states, but you don't. Also, if I recall correctly, I think the Campo Basso might be the original like part of the Adriatic.
Hmm. Oh yeah, that's another thing. The Mediterranean is slowly drying up.
You'll know shit. By the way, that's going to lead to that should lead to the death of even the psychovores because of the lack of water. But I mean, they're aliens, so I'm kind of home ruling that it doesn't matter. At least for the psychovore plants, they
Oh,
probably can just ignore that.
also, Rome is being looted.
No shit.
So when they finally broke upwards into Saint Peter, admiring the frescoes and the gold and the silver pomp, then brought their bedrolls. Hundreds followed. In the meantime, libraries and palaces all over Rome can be reached via this underground network. The Romanos do not care much for the past. They snatch artworks, pack books into crates, topple statues, and drag everything to the port. There, the Neo-Libyans are waiting on board their transporters. They take everything and pay in weapons, gold, and African delicacies. Those who work hard tend to live well.
Okay. I mean, this is just imperialism example because this is legitimately what the British did with the Greeks,
Then there's Corpse.
which is
I'm thinking that.
Corsica and Sardinia.
Yep. Um,
I have no idea why Corsica and Sardinia are deadlands, but yeah.
because the Reaper's blow hit there.
Uh,
The
let me
giant asteroid.
let me scroll back up because I'm gonna double check that. No, it fucking didn't. I see where the Reaper, where the Reaper's channel is, and technically it barely. I mean, yeah, it barely missed. In fairness, okay. If that's where the impact was, fair enough. Where the hell was I in this? There we go. I'm back.
Then there's Bedane.
But yeah, Corsica is an interesting island. It used to be. It still speaks Italian to a degree. It's French now, but it was Italian for the longest of times. It was also well known for its banditry and for its mercenaries.
I think they do. They still have pirates there. I think.
Well, I mean, you should have pirates. It's Corsica.
And then here's Africa. Africa, oh
By the way, the
Africa.
Scourgers see themselves as rulers of the Mediterranean, so you know.
The Africans live a world enlightened by spiritual and mystic principles. They do not only carry their ancestors in their hearts, they believe in seeing them in trees or stones. Spirits of nature are everywhere, in the clouds, in the soil. They are all irritable and have to be pacified by small offerings. Oh my god, this is what that what if alt history guy was talking about
Yeah, you can kind of
in his in
understand
his
why
in
I
his
low
drug
key.
infused rantings.
This is a German person going, What do Africans believe? Don't they like pray to rocks or something? Yeah, they pray to rocks and they have their proto Ook-Eek languages the plants fucking taught them. I'm sorry, that's just kind of my point
It
of view.
yeah,
These are an
it
afterthought.
let's see. The Africans have little love for the whites. They chased them away with a
Uh huh.
roar or gave their haggard children candied fruit. The Olinga is carefully covered with a sugar coating of compassion. The white man seems to pose no more danger. He is not a worthy foe.
Are you sure that these people aren't racist? 'Cause
I'm gonna
HIV.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, you got there. So that's the super AIDS. There were super AIDS that happened before the apocalypse. HIV extreme.
It could be neither dengue fever nor Ebola. They rotted from the inside out. Necrotic. Okay, so this is okay. First of all, this is again the Germans not understanding Africa. Secondly, HIV doesn't work like this. This virus should actually instead, you know what they should have called this? Mega Ebola. Because if you're wondering, HIV just yeetus deletuses your immune cells. It doesn't really cause full-on fucking necrosis like that. This is more of a hemorrhagic fever. I mean, you could say that technically it's an evolved form of immune cell disease destroyer, but it like targets all aspects of the white blood cell, which causes clots and then multi-organ failure. You could have it be like that, where it just targets
Yeah.
all white cells. If you
Well,
had it like that, maybe that would explain the necrosis.
apparently there were some groups that were immune. Libyans and the Sudanese and the Maasai. The blood of one of these tribal warriors could have led to salvation. I just
So,
Europe. Why are you having this kind of language? You're supposed to be better than the Americans.
okay, let me go over why this is bullshit. So, do you want to know something interesting? Did you know there are actual Europeans that they're among white people? There is a small group of people that are immune to AIDS completely, HIV completely. Do you want to know why?
Why?
Because their ancestors weathered the bubonic plague. The bubonic plague targeted people with a certain type of receptor that allows the HIV virus to latch onto the T cells. Some of those that either were immune or survived it had mutations to their systems that basically caused those receptor areas to not really exist in the way that they should. Basically, virus can't latch on it. So there are people that are legitimately, they will no cell AIDS. They will no cell HIV. They're not bothered. And it is most common in areas where the plague ripped through, like in Europe, and I believe in China to a lesser degree too. Not in Africa. Africa has the no selling of malaria. That's their big thing. Mainly because sickle cell trait's actually really useful because in the presence of the parasite, you know what their blood cells do? Nope, and they turn into sickles, which the parasite can't latch onto.
I
That's why it's actually useful in that case.
I'm reading through this.
Yeah, this is a fucking
He-
joke. By the way, Libyans.
yeah,
What type of Libyans? Are we talking Arab Libyans? Are we talking Berbers? Are we talking Tuareg? Because
Libyans.
either way, guess what? Guess what? They're not sub-Saharan, you fucking idiots. Also, the Sudanese technically are a mixture between sub-Saharan African and Arabic. It's to the point where guess what the Sudanese fucking speak? At least the most common. There's a lot of people. There's like the Dink. There's also Nubians still around. The Sudanese, as a whole, speak Arabic. Admittedly, the cycle. Remember, the plants turned them to speak Ukik, as I'm going to call it, because they fucking accidentally are racism. But the final one, the Maasai, I have no fucking clue why the Maasai are in here, other than aesthetics, because of
Yeah.
the eponymous. And even then, like, you know what I would use instead of the Maasai? I would have used the Zulu. I'd have used any of the Bantuistic peoples, like the Zulu, the Xhosa, one
Yeah,
of them,
yeah. Well, then
the
again, you could
Swahili.
unfortunately then get what is the primal language, and you just get the Zosha click language.
Or you could have it be the Swahili, which would explain the mercantile interest, because the Swahili
Ah,
got their starts as merchants along the Indian Ocean.
the I have to share with you this language here. More than half the population suddenly seemed to be carrying a Kalashnikov. When rumors spread that hundreds of thousands of shots with a cure had been dispensed to the military from ships docked on the Mediterranean coast, the people could not be held back. Morocco, Algeria, Libya, and Egypt's defenses could not cope with the rush and dodged the army of dispossessed jeeps, rusty transports, and Russian machine guns.
Are they stupid, or do they
Countries.
forget that those countries also have their own good selection of fucking Russian cast-offs?
Well, no, I'm just saying, am I reading the camp of the saints? And I
Are
actually,
you sure Are you sure we're not reading the Turner Diaries here?
well, no, there's less murder of people they hate.
Well, no. Remember, there's no Jews in this timeline anymore. They all died and got replaced with Arabs.
And if I remember correctly, well, there isn't the desire to die in a nuclear holocaust, so there is that.
You don't know that.
Eh,
The blood of... Ah,
I
God.
just the terminology.
I hate this.
I mean, at least I could say this: if this was being done by the Americans, they would have made a German faction that's just the Nazis.
They would have, but at the same time, what do you think's more offensive? Offending one single country in Europe or an entire fucking continent because of your incompetence?
Hmm. Yeah.
Also, come on. If you're gonna do do you want to know what my idea for a post-German apocalypse would have been in like this setting instead of that? Instead of the Nazis? You know what my take would have been?
What?
Stasi 2.0.
Oh. Oh, but here they explain more of why these cultures unified. They discovered common traits in their languages, laughed about the same
There's
jokes now, and
none of that. No. Go fuck
oh no,
yourself.
oh no, they've read Joseph Campbell.
No, no, no. You don't understand. What happened was, hey there, they all look a fucking like. They speak the same click click ooga booga language. That's what the Germans are doing here. This is
I don't.
this is hilarious.
They also seem to have realized that there's this principle of
Eh,
three.
I think that's the author saying that they have a commonality.
Oh, yeah.
They all look alike, and they still had their oil, even though that should have fucking vanished by now. If you use it
But-
the way you do, you
Well,
stupid
no, no, no.
bass.
That
Also, on top of that, that's only parts of that's only parts of the continent. That's basically there's elements in Libya, the Libya oil fields, which are really deep, and by the way, difficult to maintain. I imagine an apocalypse would make their oil rigs fail.
who knows? They might use the psychivores.
If they explained it like that, I'd actually applaud that. But since they didn't, I'm going to assume no, no, they somehow have the magic oil wells that still fucking work. So I can already tell you, just we're a third of the way through this book, and I can tell you the lore is definitely not appealing to me. There were a couple points that do. I like the Palers and the nerds, but then the nerds run the bank and are like some fucking super secret CIA organization, and that completely killed my interest in the nerds. And while the Palers are cool, I don't want to be an employee of the. I don't really want to be an employee of zombie Elon Musk. That sounds kind of lame. Sounds kind of lame.
Actually, that kind of fits who was behind this. Yes, it's some Elon
I
Musk.
did not come up with that. Someone in chat did. I think Not Nito did. Kudos to Not
Mm.
Nito for that joke.
Turns out he's hiding under the name Adrian Dittman again.
Paw swipes. So the African lion, which is a thing. Actually, that is something I've noticed is that there's this push for like a Pan Africanism, which yeah, there's a thing about that, but also like there's also not.
Kind of died in the 60s and 70s after they realized, oh, I like to be a dictator of my own country.
Yeah.
And also, we're repressing the movements of nationalism within our own countries. It's stuck in the Americas, though.
But by the way, here's more elements of the Turner Diaries. The Africans understood. The white man could never let them live in peace. In his heart, war and greed burned, and that fire would always be hotter than reason and love. Only when chained can the white man pose no danger. Let's bring back slavery. Let's bring
Oh,
back slavery and
Jesus.
return it to Whitey.
Jesus.
This is like some Nation of Islam Yakubian shit here, dude.
Dear
You're really telling
God.
me the lore in this is great when this shit's coming up? What a fucking joke.
You know, somehow it just grabbed me. It
That's not working for me, pal. Maybe it's because my people survived the plague. Maybe it's that. Maybe I'm immune to to super AIDS. Maybe the super AIDS hasn't lodged
the
in my
the
brain.
oth- the other thing is, I will generally say this: I do not like the Africa part. It does come across to me as just
Did
you
they get
just
Varg
blanket.
Vikernes to write this? Did they get him from his prison to write this section?
No, it's just. It just does not fare well.
I also like
Um,
how when the Africans won, their solution, rather than actually dressing like a professional military like the Swiss, is to go full fucking ooga booga tribesman with the fucking lack of shoes and the body armor and the fucking witch doctor mask. I love how that's their solution to the greatest warriors of all time, which is to run around like fucking gimboids in the fucking heat. I mean, I guess they smoke crack, the fungal crack. I don't know. Oh wait, they can't. Maybe they toke the
no, they
psycho
can. They can. The
shrooms.
Anubians are able to do that for them. Though the reason here's how they got all their weapons. So in the bygone times, the United African Organization, counterpart to the European UEO, was located in Tunis and had a shit ton of weapons.
Okay, here's my
Oh,
complaint about that. You would have so many sub-Saharan African nations that would disagree with putting it in Tunisia.
well, one of their
You would.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
It wouldn't be in Tunisia. It should be
Oh, you'd
eaten
have
by
to
the psychovores.
it should have to be in
If you had it be like it was found
Nigeria would fucking fight for that.
Nigeria, or you could have it be in like the former region
Ethiopia.
of Tanzania, East Africa in general, like around Tanzania. What I would have it be is you needed the Anubians to weather the psychovores, like they found the way to harmonize with it because they're not technically fully human. They're like plant people, sort of, and they're the ones that find the AKs, and that's why they're so strong because they got a bunch of cast off, and then you have the Neo-Libyans start to manufacture it. Like they start to basically learn how to make copies of it. That's why they became so rich because they know how to. Because the AK is really simple, so even in a post-apocalypse, you can kind of set up an assembly line that way. And then you have the Maasai Scourge basically form the military caste, and there you go. I think that might be what they were going for, but they decided to fetishize this, and it's like a fucking dumpster fire.
Yeah, like for me, I like the European setting.
The
Like
European setting is
I
basically there's one city that they really fluffed out, and the Balkans are kind of cool. The Balkans and Poland are kind of cool. France can go die in nuclear hellfire. The bug thing is boring.
it's just I guess it's because there's so many different like plot threads and options to choose from as like an adventure setting. If I were to run an adventure for this, there's different options I could choose. I could
I'd
choose
never want to
you're
go to
fighting
the bug
clans,
people. I
you're
don't feel like I don't. I no. I will not let the bugs eat me. I will not be the pod.
that is until you smell them.
No,
And then you start realizing, you know what? Bugs are quite tasty.
you don't
In fact, I'd
understand.
like to be one.
You don't understand. I suffered a horrible accident with my olfactory bulb. It got destroyed as a child.
No, you still smell it. That's
Even
the
if
weird thing.
even if you have no nerve endings in the nose, like because of complete destruction,
Yeah,
then it's not smell based.
it's psychic then.
Yeah, it would have to be psychic. That's a whoopsie doopsie because that's not how things work.
Well, I'm kind of bullshitting that. That actually would be then a unique character.
Like a
Just shows
person, like imagine like a task force of battalions who legitimately are made of people that have damaged olfactory because there is a condition where you literally don't have a sense of smell.
and that's where I find it interesting as areas to explore.
You say that, but this is basically you taking the drunk person who assembled a bunch of random stuff they bought at the store and making a meal out of it yourself. It's not
I
really what
mean,
they made.
there is a bit of fun in that.
There is. I personally do like to actually toolkit. This is why I like the Chronicles of Darkness, which does the same thing. It's just this is fucking reprehensible because we're on page 134 of a massive fucking lore dump,
Though
and
I
you
will
have to turn this chop sucky shit into chop suey.
though I will point this out at least with Tunis. Uh, there's a massive slave rebellion going on in that city.
Yeah,
It's John Brown's ghost come back again. Constantine is apparently a goldsmith.
it's interesting because I don't really know much about the cities of the Maghreb. I just find it interesting that these cities of the Maghreb, which are traditionally of Arabic and Berber stock, is just it's all Africa.
Africa.
They're all black now. They're all from
Yeah.
sub-Saharan Africa because they killed all the Arabs. They murdered them all. Also, I like the repurposed mosque.
Oh yeah, that is. Yeah. As the bank. Which is actually kind of an irony if you think about it, considering
Yeah.
the temple was original. One of the problems with the temple, the old Jewish temple,
Do you think the
was that it
German?
was being used
Do,
as a place for money exchange.
by the way, do you think the Germans are too stupid to be aware that a lot of sub-Saharan Africans are Islamic?
No, I think they are aware, but again, the
I,
Psych
I
Wars
think
kind of
they're too
destroyed all
stupid.
that.
Oh yeah, I forgot the plant people turned them into their fetish, into their white man enslaving fetish. Got it. I think they get off on it.
Yeah.
I like how they call like Constantine is called Constantine when it should maybe be called like Constant or something. They could call it Constant and it'd be fine, but Tripoli, just get rid of the I. It's Tripol. Sorry, I just kind of have to shit on that.
And then they hint at more plots with Quabus and Anubia.
Has only known one subject for over a year. What people are in the city? Oh, oh! It's like some weird fucking interracial cuck porn thing that these guys have. This is I hate this.
And I think it's if they use the term, if they just said, you know, Europeans are in the city.
To marvel at the white African, I'm about to scream. I I so there's no way I'm rating this book good. I'm just going to be honest. Already, we're not at good. I don't know if we're at decent still, but this African section is getting me pretty close to
It's
rating this playable.
yeah.
This is horrible. We was kangs and shit. Look at what we did to Giza. I like how there's a cliff now arbitrarily in Cairo, like outside of Giza.
Thing is, this is I think the Psych Wars. So it's not what they did. It's
We was kangs. I don't know. This is like some Wakanda bullshit. Let's be blunt.
the thing is though is that again, this all may have been planted.
I don't
The Anub
care. I don't care
like
what
the
meta plot
Anubians.
bullshit you try to explain this with.
Yeah,
This is meta plot horse
there's
shit.
nothing
This is
saving it. There's nothing fucking saving.
no Neo-Libyans cousin will have to go in rags, even if it's as useless as a one-legged slave. Someone has a very strong fetish of being whipped by a black man. I'm sorry. That's all I can think of now. I'm sorry. These are just I just envisioned these are the people that go to like BDSM things and specifically ask for Africans to whip them.
Okay.
I'm that's what I'm getting out of this. I'm not
Uh,
getting good. I'm getting crap.
I'm just feeling so embarrassed because I don't I like the setting. I find it interesting. The Africa stuff is
It's
weird,
dog shit. It's
but
complete dog shit.
I I don't know. For some
No,
reason,
no,
I
there's
like
the
it.
nucleus of a possible good idea, and then they turn it into weird racialist dog shit.
Like it's more like just the different cultures, the different.
They don't even do that. They're all the same because the plants make them the same. They all hate Whitey and
I
want to kill
know,
them for super AIDS.
I know. Oh,
This is horrible. This is awful. There is no just effort put into this, and I fucking hate it. I I
I feel
legitimately
like when they go to the culture or not the cults and more in the gameplay, I feel like it just gets better.
you say that, but for all you know, since you didn't like the
But
Africa stuff,
but
that
fuck me, the beginning is awful. I have to fuck. I can say this to point. The entire because I think we're gonna just leave it for now.
No,
Because
no, we gotta at least get. Oh yeah, we're at the cults. We're not gonna do
yeah,
cults because it's been 2 hours.
it's been 2 hours. But I'll say it is free. This entire thing is free. Admittedly, that was poor on them for a business prospect because you were paying for the hardcover version of it, not the PDF. But legitimately, it is a full free game that
Yep,
exists.
and I've actually linked to. You go to degenesis.com. I actually have it in the description. All you need is an account, and it gets you both books.
No,
Because
not
again,
just
this is a book so fucking much of a doorstopper they had to cut it in half. I'm sorry, that's a design failure. That's a complete design failure. But you get all of this for free. And I will say this because I have actually skimmed through the whole book. The dice system that this game uses is good. It's actually a really competent D6 dice system. It uses dice pools. Fours and above result in successes. You need X amount of successes, which are based on your attributes and skills. They are mostly fine. There's a little bit of skill bloat in the sense that you got a lot to pay attention to. It has class progressions. The basic nucleus of how this game works is actually good. The problem is, I don't give a shit about 90% of the lore, and this Africa stuff is actually fucking garbage. This is some of the worst, weirdest shit I've ever read, and this might be why they struggle to run things correctly for a business point of view. This is probably why they got kicked out when they fucking did their. Oh god, imagine if they did this for their like fucking promo. Like they wanted it to take place in like Rome, where like you have the whole thing where they're selling national treasures to the Africans. Can you imagine like they waste like 10 minutes explaining how fucking racist they are
I just
and the weird fetish of enslaving the white men that they have?
yeah, it's I just
Oh god, imagine being in that room. Imagine
I'm with the
being a fly in
Spaniards.
that room.
Fucking kill the Africans.
That's the other thing. In a lot of cases, I feel like the cultures they generate are mostly you could have done better. The only ones I really like out of the lot are the Palers, and that's just because there's something interesting about being former security turning into essentially Nosferatu fentanyl Draculas.
I will say that actually. Do
The
you mind
nerds
then if
almost were cool, and then they fucked it up by making them part of some mega super ultra conspiracy that controls like the banks and shit, and I just lost interest. The judges I only dislike because they look like cowboys. The aesthetics just doesn't work for me. The concept is fine. What they do with it's kind of silly. The Spitalians, Helveticans, Clanners, they're fine. They're fine. It's basically a catch-all. It allows you to come up with a variety of ideas. So what? I think that's like half of the tribes or whatever, half of the clans, cults. The Neo-Libyans almost were interesting, and then they kind of butt fucked it with that. All of the African ones are fucking ruined because of this section. I'm gonna be blunt. Like this section is permanently tainted 3 of the 13. So the highest it can get is a 10 out of 13, and oh no, I've already kind of downgraded a lot of them. Oh no.
hopefully next week as we develop more into the cults, it will explain more.
Oh, we're gonna do all of this shit at once, like
I was
every
thinking just
week.
get it out. I was just thinking just get it out of the way.
Oh, like a public execution. Got it. Anyway, there we are. We're back in our comforting room, in our little room. Fittingly, we have our potations, our beverages, and all in all, I have read in detail about a little bit under half of this book, and I think my opinions on it being designed like dog shit still stands. There's way too much white space that's used. There are too many times where they just try to insert art that, while looking cool, just bloats the page number, which by the way is murderous on their print count, especially based on the fact that they have to print by batches. That's expensive. A book this like books this thick are expensive.
I think they own the print shop, if I remember correctly.
Okay, so they're
But that's
literally printing at a cost. They're literally burning money. out of delusion. Got it.
Well,
Because
I
they're
mean, I'm
gonna
about to
lose
say
money by doing that.
if they're artists first, they kind of focus on the art than the economics of the product.
How many corporate hatchet jobs do they have to do to basically keep this thing going?
Well, they have their Clan Wars thing. That's about it. I think they have a new project running up, but not that clear on that.
But yeah, like I said, design wise, this book is ass. Um, there's too much white space usage is completely unoptimized. There are pages that can literally be removed, and it would save you page numbers, which would save you money on printing, which would save you on ink and on a bunch of other things. In terms of lore, I consider France a complete failure because Bugland is just Bugland. Like, I'm sorry, you can do something interesting with the pheromone casters or whatever, but at the end of the day, it's Bugland. You're not really going to be doing much out of Bugland. Um, Poland is basically the wastes. There are some potentially interesting things you could do there, maybe. Borka is the one they clearly put the most effort in, but most of it's basically a fucking waste of space other than the main city of Justitia, which it does have a lot of stuff for it. I have seen the city map of it. It's just the rest of the area seems a lot emptier than you think. And the rest are just kind of more ideas for later expansions, which is annoying because you could have cut most of it and just okay. Do you want to know how how you could actually cut this down in a way that would work? Like for in terms of RPG design, do you know what I would do? Cut every fucking thing out except Borka. In terms of the rest of the world, fucking cut that shit. And focus on the city of Justitia. Focus on the city of Justitia, focus on West Borka, talk about the threats of Franca, and talk about the invasive and inquiring notices of the Neo-Libyans and the Jehemedans in East Borka. Talk
Hmm.
about Chernobog in the east and Poland being essentially in the way of him or dealing with him occasionally, and talk about the Balkan near the south. Basically, focus it just like you would on Warhammer Fantasy, aka you're focusing on Germany. That way, you can use the pages that you cut, which is about a couple hundred of them. You could use about 50 of them to fluff out and expand on Borka. And then from there, you can then make one book, especially since what you do is you put the lore at the fucking end of your book, like most people do. And you get a book that's like 500 pages. Which is a bit of a doorstopper, but it's nowhere near as bad as what the final results are. That's kind of my take on what I would have done. But yeah, next week we'll do more of this. Might have to find ways to play around with censorship because there is booba, but other than that, I think we can at least finish book one by the end of, maybe. It might be a three-parter. So with
Anyway,
that, oh, sorry.
hopefully you'll all be with us as we enjoy talking about the various cults, how do you survive in them, and then also learning what happened to the United States
I bet it's
and
dead because the Euroids
why
wrote
is there
this.
no longer a UN?
I bet that's because the Europeans wrote it. Yeah, let's hope for the
Yes.
better, not Nito. So, yeah, have an excellent night, and we'll be back for more of this shit next week.